Hey everyone, Phill at Phlashweb here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about sales and how you make yourself more comfortable doing sales calls. Coming up. So the reason I wanted to talk about sales, and in particular how you deal with sales calls, is because we had a conversation with the client yesterday. And he was saying I was getting quite a lot of leads, but he knew, or he was suggesting that he had issues in closing the leads essentially. And he said, I hate sales, don't really like doing sales calls. He was much more of a skilled, in this case the guy was basically he was a carpenter of sorts, a specialist type of carpenter, I guess. And he got a lot of business from referrals, but he was trying out some marketing, you know, he wanted to grow his business a little bit. And he was never been trained in sales, you know. He was formerly somebody that's, I mean, he still did a lot of work on the tools himself, but now he's sort of trying to build up his business. And so he was sort of, you know, had this preconceived idea about what sales is, and he sort of didn't like it, you know, how people think, oh, it's a slick salesperson, all that sort of nonsense. And I said to him, look man, you know, the first thing you got to think about is sales isn't really what the movies make it out to be, for one, and two, you just need to sort of reframe your mindset around sales and what it is really, and it makes life a million times easier, right? Because what you're really trying to do with sales is just match up what you can deliver with the right person in terms of someone that needs your service, right? And part of that comes into getting the right leads, but the other part of it is in doing your research on who the lead is that's coming to you and making sure that it does line up for them, and being comfortable and asking those questions. And the bit that he was struggling with, and the bit that I wanted to sort of talk about a bit now, was in the objections that he was getting, because a lot of the objections were, it's really expensive actually in his case, right? Because he was a skilled carpenter and his team were really skilled, right? So they charged a premium because it took him years to get that good, right? But his objections that he was getting on his calls were that, oh, it's so expensive. And what I said to him was, look, when it comes to objections, and this goes generally for business and sales and things like that, is all an objection is someone that doesn't really understand enough about what it is that you do to get the full value out of it, to appreciate the value that your specific service delivers, right? And it's your job to help them understand the value, right? And if you know and you've done your research on them well enough, then you know that it's going to deliver value. And if you don't, then you just have to, I mean, I always think it's worthwhile being honest in these things, and if it doesn't fit them, then there's no point in selling to them, right? But if it does, and you know that it does, then it's really just a question of communication, right? About how you explain to them how the benefit or the value of your service will help them, right? So in this guy's case, I said to him, look, you know that it's true, right, that in your case, when you deliver service as a carpenter, right, you do the work one time. It's not going to break, it's not going to, no one's going to have any issues, it's going to last a long time, it'll be really robust, right? It's not like some cheap piece of furniture. He wasn't a furniture person, but it's not like some sort of cheap wardrobe or something that's going to fall apart in a couple of years. You know, your stuff lasts, right? And that's value, right? So it's not expensive, in fact, right? You know, your thing is actually really cheap when you look at it over the longer time, the lifetime of the item that they're buying, right? It's peace of mind, right? You know that this guy has got skills, and you know, he's got a lot of experience, right? And you just need to explain and convey and answer that objection effectively with an explanation that sort of justifies the position, right? And then I suggested, why don't you just come up with a list of the objections that you get when you're talking to people on the phone, and then come up with the answers to those objections, right? Because you've got good answers, right? You know that if I'm talking to you and you know it's not a sales call, then you could come up with all the answers. It's just that when you think you're trying to sell something to somebody, you know, you've got a little bit of a mindset issue there, and if you just adjust the way you think about it, then it will really help you out. So I thought I'd share that with you. I think the key takeaway probably is that it's worth noting down when you're making sales calls. If you're not someone that loves doing sales calls, just get comfortable with the fact that all you're really doing is trying to help these people, right? If your service will actually deliver and they will benefit from that service, sorry, then you've almost got a duty, right? Because in a sense, what you're trying to do is help their business, right? Or whatever it is, help the client achieve whatever it is they're trying to get, or help the customer get whatever it is they want to get from buying your product or whatever it is. So, you know, you've got a responsibility to communicate what you can do effectively, right? And that's all you're doing. And then it's worth, as I say, going through people's objections, because those barriers are probably not necessarily even related to you, right? They're just things that people, preconceived ideas that really don't make a lot of sense sometimes. It's totally emotional. So note them down and come up with your answers, and even do some practice calls if you feel the need to. But I think that gives you more of a sense of makes you more genuine when you're speaking to people, because you know, you believe in what you can deliver. So I hope that helped, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you're interested in more business bites.